Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Gospel Tech Game Review Guide. This is the guide we use to answer the question, Mom and Dad, can I play this game? The idea here is to equip you with the answers that you need to be able to help your kid through the conversation, rather than just me telling you the right answers and you going back and said, well, Nathan said you should or shouldn't do this. So the first thing we're going to do today is we're going to pick a game to grade. Then we're going to look at our categories. Then we're actually going to grade a game together. The grading process will take us just under 10 minutes. I'm going to do a very thorough process, but you are welcome to take longer or shorter when you do it for yourself. The first game we're going to pick today is Fortnite. Oh, I should say this. If you have this, so if you go to page 43 in the workbook, you will actually get this exact thing. You can print it out. It's a downloadable PDF through the workshop, the online Gospel Tech workshop. If you do not have that, you can go purchase it and then use this. Otherwise, you're welcome to just do this on a separate piece of paper, and that works too. But if you print this, it's great because you can put the game name here. You have categories to return to. This is to try to keep it fair, not just, well, I liked it or didn't like it, but it's actually based on family expectations. Does it line up with my family's expectations? And it will have steps for you to follow along with clickable links. Okay. And then it will bring you to the actual grading process. So that's what I'm using today. We do need to assume that a game is always a 3, which is the good side. That's a high grade. Always going to be a 3. Everything is an 18 out of 18. It's an excellent match for your family until it's not. And every time we find something in a category that doesn't match, it bumps down a point. So what do I mean by that? Well, there's really 6 questions that I ask. There's more reading to do if you want. But first with characters. Would I have this character to dinner? Yes or no? If it's a yes, it's probably a 3. Maybe it's a yes, as long as they leave their machine guns outside. Okay, so that might be a 2 because we now have a caveat. The machine guns seem to be a problem at dinner. So we would go with a 2 out of 3 for this character setting, right? And then we look at themes. Modern video games have lots of themes. I cover several of them over here. We want to just look at the themes. Are these things my child should be learning now? Is it age appropriate? Is this the individual that I want teaching my kid these themes? If not, maybe they do need to know about these things, but they need to learn it in a different way. Violence, is it part of the story? Is it the point of the story, right? Is it the point of what they're doing here? And we want to recognize that. Fourth is language. Typically, this is either language that's built into a game or this is language they'll run into playing with live players. How long does it take to beat? The reason I said 2 weeks is our kids should play no more than 10 hours a week. That's 2 hours a day for 5 days. That's based on some pretty solid research, even though modern, in the last 3 years, so since 2017, basically, there's been some more voices that have come out and said, well, it's not really that easy. What they're trying to say is sometimes 10 hours is way too much, but it's been interpreted as there's really no right or wrong. We can just do whatever we want. That's not true. You can actually tell very quickly when your kid's behavior starts to change and it starts to influence their sleep patterns and their focus and their hope and their joy and all those things. So we call it a reset in Gospel Tech, but 2 weeks, 2 hours a day for consumption tech is the max. So that's why we picked 2 weeks, because other than that, you start to run into a lot of pressure to play. Game experience involves things like microtransactions. Does it push real world money being spent on in-game purchases? Is it competitive and fast gameplay? Meaning just basically, is it frenetic? Is there a high likelihood they can get overstimulated playing it? And is there a chance for accidental pornography exposure? And to answer that, we are actually going to do these 5 steps. So here's where our kind of 10-minute review starts. Entertainment software review board, common sense media, how long to beat, a quick Google search, and a Bing search. And we will go through each of these together. So let's do it now. And also I will be running out of this because I didn't want to run a written document and make you look at my penmanship. So we're going to go through this process right here. I just go Fortnite. The ESRB, the Entertainment Software Review Board. So note the little colon here means it's an add-on. So I want to go with just the base game. Maybe not for the Nintendo Switch. I'll use the one that is all the different systems. All right. So the Entertainment Software Review Board does a great job putting this together. This grade right here is often very accurate. So let's look at it. It's an action game. You build forts, resources, craft weapons, battle hordes of monsters. Players use guns, swords. They fight skeleton-like monsters. Players also defeat enemies in various traps. Battles are highlighted with frequent gunfire. The one thing maybe left out of this is that there's also a PvP. So Battle Royale is where they play other players. We'll see that later. So, all right, frenetic violence, etc. I go here and I go, all right, these people are solving their problems with guns. So I'm just going to go with it's a shooter. That immediately moves me to a 2. Okay, just this character is a shooter. Now, they might be surviving for all the right reasons and doing all those things, but we just understand that. We know that this is a survival game, which is going to bump down. So survival game means this is going to be kind of Hunger Games-esque. This is zombie apocalypse. There are some intense themes there of me over them. Even if it's done in the best way, that is just an intense theme we want to recognize as we go through it. The violence, it says it's there, but that it says it's fairly cartoony. So I'm going to just note that with a cartoony violence 2, because of when I went through this review, we started talking about traps like poison gas, frequent gunfire explosions, cries of pain. This sounds like this is a first-person shooter, and that level of violence goes beyond like Mario, right? This is next level. I think that's all I got out of that. So we're just going to leave it at that for now. We're going to look at our next resource, which is Common Sense Media. And I do the same thing. Again, there's a link right out of the PDF. You can just click on it. So I click Fortnite. And I picked this one because this is the one that is going to give me Common Sense Media's grade, and it's also going to give me parent feedback. So if you scroll down, there's this great little thing. What do parents need to know? Okay, so it's a survival game. This is where you play it. It's last person standing. Okay, and this is where it talks out that it's Battle Royale. You're playing against other live players. There's 100 players. They can team up or play solo. It's cartoonish. There is violence. It's persistent, but not bloody. All right, so that's wonderful information, right? That confirms my violence of 2. It's live players, and this is a big deal because as soon as you go competitive shooter game against live players, people get frustrated, and they're not all 12. And even if they were, people still get frustrated. So I'm going to go live players. That is going to move me to either a 1 or a 2. I'll be generous today, and I'll say 2, and I believe in the goodness of humanity, but not actually the goodness of humanity. I believe in the desire of people to play games and have fun. Let's say that because the other one wouldn't be true. So we have live players. I'm going to go with the 2 here. You might check out a little bit more and see what that looks like and how comfortable you are. If we said, well, we're going to play the game without sound, maybe that goes back up to a 3. Great. But people are going to say things they maybe didn't mean, and games can get a little intense. It didn't give me a play time, so I'm not exactly sure, and it didn't give me any real information on game experience other than there's some fighting going on here. So, all right, that's good information to have. Now we go to how long to beat. So we do the exact same thing, just enter it in up here because I can't spell Fortnite. There we go. Now, these are some impressive numbers. This is the story mode. This is main and extra, and if you ask anyone who plays it, or if you go and watch the gameplay, which we'll do next, you will learn that the games are actually not that long. They're about 15 to 20 minutes, but they're to be played a lot because it requires lots of practice. So between this information and the fact that I know this game requires a lot of practice, I'm going to go lots of time, practice. I'm going to go with a 0 or a 1. I'll be generous today, and I'll give it a 1. I'm feeling good today. But the idea here being this game is meant to be played a lot. It is highly engrossing. Kids are going to have a hard time walking away from this game. They want to win that next match. They want to get better. They want to see their friends on it. They want to have those bragging rights. It is very, very intense, and then the game is drawing them back in. It's designed to do that. It's not designed to be beaten. That's what we just learned from How Long to Beat. Again, if we're playing 10 hours a week, we're talking 7 or 8 weeks of gameplay here just to beat the main storyline. So this isn't a 5-hour Nintendo game from 20 years ago. This is more in depth, and there's going to be a lot going on with that. So, and one more thing we learned back here is that there are microtransactions. I forgot that when I was reading through this. But there are microtransactions. We also saw that. Not here. All right, so just in here it talks about it. That's important because microtransactions makes it at least a 2. So the reason being, we're now spending real world money. We're buying outfits, and we are purchasing battle packs. You actually have to buy the game, and then you have to buy a license that allows you to play the game, which is intense. And sometimes there are free downloads of the game as long as you buy a battle pass. I get that. But the idea is it's an ongoing subscription fee. Plus, they push, buy these clothes, buy this outfit, buy this new special, buy all these different items. And that is a big weight on kids, and that is going to be a weight on your family. It's going to be another battle. So we just recognize that that's what that is. We are going now to Google it Fortnite, and actually I'm going to type in Fortnite gameplay. How about that? Fortnite gameplay. So here's some Fortnite gameplay. Let's actually go to videos. And I want to look at, so this one. You'll see it's a trailer. It's already for the game. So this is their designed trailer for the game. This won't be necessarily real gameplay, but it's going to. I'm going to mute that so we don't have to hear it. We're going to go through this. All right. Neato, mosquito. Get some general idea of what's going on here. Okay, so that's what a death would look like in game. Okay, and that's pretty intense. So was there any blood? No. Is it relatively violent? Yeah. I'm actually gonna drop this again. So it was cartoony, but intense. Now, if we go back, we saw a little bit of what the game portrayed itself, but that was a trailer. So let's actually watch a little bit of what players actually do here. So I just clicked on one that said that this was a win in solos. So we have a real life person here who's playing. Again, I'm muting him so we don't have to hear that. We're getting all sorts of fun ads. So we've got a character he's playing as. We get to see a little bit of just kind of what's going on. All right, again, we kind of are matching that frenetic idea. We see lots of objects spinning, running, very pretty gameplay, and that's great. And then again, if I scroll along the bottom here, I will be able to actually maybe see a spot where he gets into a firefight or something, so I can see what is the violence really like in the game. That is interesting to me. So let's see if I can skip ahead and find this. I'm trying to do it on a timeline here for you, so if I don't find it right away. But I can already see this game, right? Lots of flashing, lots of, holy moly, things breaking and building and... and machine guns inside houses. So, is that John Wick? Pretty sure it is. All right. So that was a pretty good picture of what just happened there. I'm fine if we stop there. It totally is John Wick. So if I go back to, oh, excuse me. That's not what you needed. You needed this. So I go back here. I'm like, all right, it is cartoony, but that's intense. We have the live player situation time, and then I am going to go with microtransactions and frenetic gameplay. That was, I mean, if you saw in that fight scene, right, there were flashing walls, there were flashing bullets, there were flashing damage signs, there was things being built, torn down, moved, a lot of spinning and running and shooting, and that, when you get to that level of intensity, what is happening in our brains is really quite overwhelming for especially young developing brains. That is going to impact sleep, focus, the ability to find fun in real life. We just want to recognize that. It doesn't mean you can't play games that are that fast paced. We just need to know that is so much faster than real life, that there's not a lot of other things that are going to compete with that level of feedback and intensity, and that means they're not going to find other things probably as exciting. We just want to recognize that so that if that shows up, if we go, yeah, you can play this game, and then they start to have these attitude, impact, emotional things, we can start to say, hey, I noticed, remember the frenetic gameplay, that's a low one. So that was us looking through the gameplay itself. And the last piece I said here, if we go back to the actual guide, is the Bing search. Now, this is in order to figure out, is there content that is going to cause an accidental pornography exposure? So do not do this with your child in the room. The idea here is you go settings, safe search, and you make sure that it is off. Okay, safe search is off. Boom, I agree. Then you would go back to Bing and you would search for whatever the game is, in our case, Fortnite. Now, we are not going to search this now because I don't need this on my video. I will tell you Fortnite does have inappropriate content. It's usually fan-made. It is not censured by the game itself. They are not producing this content, but it's a real part of the experience, and we do need to know before we just let our children go online and start running amok with searching up their favorite game on things like Pinterest and Tumblr and other fan-made sites, that there is the opportunity for accidental porn exposure. Fortnite is one of those. Yes, it's a game that draws in a lot of young players, but there's also a lot of adults that play it, and then those adults make content that we do not want our children to bump into accidentally. So we just need to be aware of that. And as we are aware of that, right? We go, all right, well, maybe that's something that will affect this grade. In this case, it's not designed by the game developer. I understand that. So I would leave this at a 1, but I would keep in a heavy mind, I'm not just going to let my child go search this game, right? We're not just going to let them watch every YouTube video out there and search every website that has Fortnite involved with it at all, because they will come across things that are not kind, not helpful, and not beneficial. So we have just finished a game grade. And when we do, we go, well, it's 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right. Well, if we got a 9 on that and we go down to our grade guide, we go, it's for mature audiences only, not a good fit for young players. Now, that sounds weird when we're talking Fortnite, right? You're like, but it's not like it's a cartoony game where you're shooting like little effectively laser guns at each other. It's like tag or anything else. But it was this whole piece, right? There's the characters, right? We don't know what their motives are. Maybe they're awesome and you would give it 10 points. Like, okay, so you don't take a point there. Remember, we said we'd let them come to dinner, but they'd have to leave the machine gun. So that bumped them 1. Some of the themes, this idea of survival at any cost, that the only way to our solutions is through shooting stuff. I believe that dings a point. The violence and the intensity of violence, the language of other online players, the playtime really hurt this game. There are some other games that do not drive repeated playtime to the extent that games like Fortnite do, that you could choose instead. And that game experience did take a hit because of some of those things, the microtransactions, the frenetic gameplay, that really fast, flashy gameplay. And then the side note of, hey, there's some adult content, not even adult content. There's inappropriate sexual content that is made for this game specifically. It's one of the games that this is just a lot of content of that variety out there. And there's research trying to guess why that is, but it's kind of unusual. So you would come out, you'd say it's a 9 out of 10, and now that is the basis for the conversation. Son or daughter says, Mom and Dad, can I play this game? And you say, well, here's this grade. We went through it together. We did the steps except for the Bing part together. What does that look like for our family? Does this line up enough, or is there an alternative game, or is there a full other alternative activity we should look to? And now you have your answer, and you not just have an answer about, well, Nathan said do this or don't. It's an answer built around your family, around your expectations, that can be carried into the next one, to the point where your child might ask to play a game, and now they know at least some of the answer, and they know some of the why, and they know that you're on their team, supporting them, fighting for them, not just fighting against them when it comes to their interest in games or social media or friends or music or whatever it is. So I hope that was encouraging to you. I hope this is helpful. Please go and use it. Check out the workshop online. The Gospel Tech online workshop is to help you create a family tech framework, and understanding games is one part of that. So hope it was helpful. Thanks for being here.